Familiar with that assignment.
You wouldn't believe how many earthquakes happened.
Good evening and welcome to the Georgetown School Committee meeting of Thursday, September 26, 2013. Good evening.
You need a gavel.
Try that again, Barbie.
Welcome to the Georgetown School Committee meeting of Thursday, September 26, 2013. The chair will entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda, which includes approval of minutes, regular session minutes of 9/12/2013, acceptance of warrants number 13V14 and number 12P14.
So moved.
Second?
Any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. I'm going to move along and talk to Mary Beth, the student rep.
Hi.
Tell us what's going on this week.
All right, so we have a football game tomorrow against Manchester, in Manchester, so that'll be exciting. I'm cheering, so it'll be fun. I just got news that the field hockey team just won. I think that's their first win this season, so they're very excited. We had a club fair for all the clubs at the school last week, and it went really well. It was our first annual one, and we're definitely going to do it next year. So it went well. Yeah, a lot of freshmen asked a lot of questions, signed up. It was good. We are having student council elections for freshmen next week. So 5 kids are running for student council representative positions. 4 will be elected, and then we'll have to run for election every year after that. And we have our mattress sale. The boosters are doing that. I think is it this Saturday? Yeah, so that's going to be this Saturday. I'll be there, I think. So, yeah.
Yeah, it's right in the gym, right?
I think so, yeah. So hopefully we will raise a lot of money for that. I think we get $100 of every mattress we sell or something like that.
That's a very interesting fundraiser.
Right, it's like, it's not something you would think. Right, when they first said that we were going to be selling mattresses, everyone was a little skeptical, but hopefully we'll do well. And in the past, that company has done really well with fundraising, so hopefully we'll do well.
That's good. Good luck.
Yeah, thank you.
Does anyone have any questions for Mary Beth? No. Thank you.
Mary Beth.
You're welcome.
Is there anyone from the audience that wants to talk about any agenda items? No? Okay. We're going to have the PTA come up and talk about the 2013-2014 plans.
Hi,
Jill.
Hi there. I'm Jill Shaul. I'm the president of the PTA. Hi, Jill. Following in Barbie and Lorene's
Welcome.
shoes. Thank you. So this year we have a few goals in the PTA: raise money, bring the community together, increase membership, and broaden our communications so that more people know what we're doing and what we're all about. And you guys have, I think, the fundraisers in front of you. So everything is pretty much things that you've seen in the past. The only new fundraiser we're doing this year is a walkathon in the spring to promote health and wellness. We have auction, which is terrifying. And the only other thing that might look a little bit new to
We
you.
have that.
I know, I don't have
Yeah,
that.
I have that.
This, right?
We have pre-K and we have
We have
pro.
pre-K.
That's what I thought.
Oh.
I'm not sure
I'm
what.
sorry. I can give you a quick rundown and then I can send out copies.
Yeah, if you give us a copy, if you send Laura a copy, we can get it
Okay.
out to the community.
Sure, I'll do that. So we had book fairs. They just went by. They were fairly successful. We're still waiting for our numbers. We're doing Change Project, which we did last year. All the kids just bring in their extra change. We're doing it 2 times in 4-week increments. We
And
have
winners get smoothies as opposed to
yes,
ice cream and pizza.
yes,
Well, they got some wellness
yep.
flavor in there.
We've got health and wellness going on this whole year.
Like to hear that?
Well, that's a national PTA goal, which I didn't realize till
Okay.
I did more research on
It is.
national PTAs.
Yes, it is a national
Good alignment.
PTA.
That's good.
Isn't that lovely? I love that.
Yeah, actually, some people are coming up with some pretty interesting ways to help promote health and wellness. We have some more to share with you, but we're not quite ready. We have the Horribles Parade, which is not a fundraiser; it's a give back, but it's there. This year, the Pearly School, led by Mrs. Began, is doing a holiday craft fair for us, which is awesome. All the teachers are getting involved. They're all very excited. It will be on the November 16th basically tables, crafts, bring the kids together, families together, get ready for the holidays. And we're going
Heidi
to.
has wanted to do this for years.
That sounds like so
For
much fun.
years.
Yeah, so it's great that the
Everybody's
PTA is
really
working with it.
excited. We have a lot of local vendors, some other vendors. We'll do a big push for auction, and we'll be selling Georgetownopoly.
Wonderful game.
If you haven't purchased your copy, let me know.
Yes.
We have ski club this year. Sign-ups happen in November. We are doing the kids spelling bee this year, which we've heard is just great for the kids and the families. We will have one restaurant night. In the original calendar, we had two, but the first one, there's just too many other things going on, so we'll do one in the spring and tie it into registration for walkathon. And we'll do school supplies again, walkathon, health and wellness, and then we have Georgetownopoly, which you will start seeing in little shops, little blocks of shops, and Crosby's.
Crosby's too?
Yes.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah, we're actually starting to make money on that, so it's good.
And where's your restaurant night gonna be? Do you know yet?
We're hoping it will be at Keon's. They are open to it
Mm-hmm.
as long as we can work in with their schedule. It was successful for the baseball bash folks.
Oh,
That's great.
So that's it on the fundraisers, and then within each school, we're doing a special membership promotion this year, where if they each have a membership target, and if they reach their target of families joining, they get $500 back immediately. And I just got all your numbers in. I'll send them out. Nobody's met their target yet, but we're getting closer.
When's the deadline? Is there a deadline?
October 20th is the deadline.
Oh, okay.
Because we have to get all of our membership into national by November 1st. So,
And how does a parent sign up?
to become a member,
Mhm.
there are flyers that went home with each of the kids. We have sign-ups on our website, and we are also doing membership drives. We did one at the Pin Nights. We'll do one this weekend at the Antique Car Show. And depending on how things are going, we might do one last one at the Donahoe Road Race.
So if I sign up online, the credit will go to my children's
Yes.
plural schools.
Yes, both schools.
Oh, good.
Or
Okay.
3.
I mean, I will. I definitely will. I just didn't exactly
Yes.
know how.
Yep, you can just go to our website.
When's your next PTA meeting?
The next PTA meeting is December 9th, and we are having Michelle and Ellie come in to talk about the new school.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah.
That's great. I'm sure you'll do a great job.
Thank you. I'm excited about the year.
Yeah.
A lot
Well,
of
you know, if you
support.
remember, the PTA was in danger of
Yeah.
not working this year, so it was great that Jill stepped forward, and you know, she and Jennifer worked together very nicely.
Right.
So it is great, and I think their intention here is to try to work with other organizations so that we don't inundate people with so many things. You know, to do a fewer things, you know, better. So the auction is obviously a major fundraiser,
Yes.
and
Thank you for reminding me. Yes, that is one of our goals this year. Do more with less. We cut our fundraisers almost in half this year, in hopes we'll have more people attending
right.
fewer things and making more of them.
When's the auction?
November 22nd. And in line with what you just said, there was a conflict with football, and Jen reached out to Peter and Scott, and they're moving the football conflict to
wonderful.
accommodate auction.
Great.
What was the football conflict?
Must have been a game.
Their last games and celebrations are that weekend, and I
Right
guess
before Thanksgiving.
right before Thanksgiving. K through 5 was supposed to be on the 22nd, but they're moving it.
That's great.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
great.
very nice teamwork.
And it will be at the Black Swan?
Yes.
Yes.
That's great.
That's
And
my
there will be
PTA.
student projects again, and
There are
and
all the typical
yeah.
things you would expect.
Mm-hmm.
Georgetownopoly is also at Georgetown Bank.
Yes, it is at Georgetown Bank.
Okay, good.
Just need to check in and see if there's forms still there.
There are. I was there 2 weeks ago. I forgot we were there too.
Yeah. It's good.
Okay, wonderful.
That's all I have.
All right, thank you, Jill.
Thank you.
Good luck. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, we are just gonna move the agenda a little bit. We're going to, before we get to administrative
What,
reports.
do you want to do the preschool?
Oh, the preschool. I'm sorry. I didn't even see that. Thank you. I do have a copy of that one. Does everybody have a copy of that?
Yes.
Oh, there.
Hi, I'm Rachel Nielsen. I'm the president of the PK Parents Group. The PK Parents Group is different from the PTA. We don't receive any funding from the PTA, so we host all of our events and fundraisers on our own. And roughly each year we earn about $2,200 that goes back to the PK classrooms as well as for supplies, equipment, and enrichment programs. So do all of you have a copy of the proposed fundraisers?
Yes.
So we host various events and fundraisers through the year. Do you want me to go through each item? All of these items listed, we've hosted in the past. We do have 2 new events proposed for this year. In February, we have a father-daughter dance.
That'll be neat.
And then in May, we're also proposing a plant sale to have people be able to purchase flowers before Mother's Day.
Great. So, yeah, the group you want to check in with though, just is the music parents.
Okay.
I know they do 2 flower sales at certain times. I know they do one around
Yeah, they did the
Christmas.
mums.
We did the
and then-
gala.
so-
We already did the mums sale.
So you did the mums, and then there is, usually the poinsettias are also there, but is there nothing in the spring?
I don't think so.
Okay, that'd be perfect
We were
then.
gonna try to tie it in with the walkathon too, with the PTA.
Yeah, that's great.
so
Yeah,
that-
that's
Who
great.
used to do the bulbs? Was it CPAC that used to do the bulbs?
CPAC used
Did
to
they
do
still do
bulbs.
that? And that used to be
We
in
did not do
April.
that.
They
did
haven't
not do
done
that.
that, no.
Last year.
Great, that's,
Should I check in with them
no,
as well?
no, I
Okay.
think you're fine.
Okay. And then the bingo night, the PTA did that last year, but we've already double checked with them. They're not planning on that this year, so we were proposing hosting that.
Yeah, and that was fun. That was very well attended last year.
So most of our events in the past have been focused just on the PK group. Some of them we'd like to open up to all of Pearlie as long as they're not a conflict with something that the PTA is already doing it. And again, I'm working closely with Jill on that to make sure there's no conflicts there. But we can obviously raise more money if we're able to open up to more students other than just pre-K.
Interesting.
So kind of make it like a community.
Yes.
That's good.
Well, and then in 2 years, when the Pembroke changes, then it'll
Then
be
it'll be-
appropriate for it to be, just the straight preschool.
Yeah.
It'll change
Yeah.
again.
Well, we've gotten some feedback from some of the parents who do want to have their kindergartens or grade 1 students participate in, for instance, like the Halloween party, whereas before we've just said it's pre-K and siblings. So we would like to at least offer it to them to attend, and then it's obviously their choice if they want to.
In the evening, right?
Yes.
Yes, I remember that, yeah.
Yep. Most of the events are in the evening. The only 2 fundraisers during school time are the PK T-shirts, which we sell for the pre-K Olympics, and then the Square One art that we want to propose.
Oh, you're gonna do square one art? Oh,
Yes, we
That's
did that
new.
last year, and it was
Yeah.
very successful.
Oh, it's, Christmas presents are
Yeah.
all set, yeah. So do you, what was I gonna ask you? So I'm curious, I guess the thing that makes me curious is, and I think this is probably just because it's always been the way it's always been, but because everybody thinks about the preschool being something different than part of the public schools. And we always tell everybody that we're a pre-K through 12 district, because we believe that the pre-K is part of the whole school district. So I've always been interested as to why, the pre-K group would exist as an entity unto itself. And I just think it's because that's the perception, is that it's something different than what the PTA might cover, which is, starting from the formal education. Do you think that's
I'd
what
have
it?
to ask that
Yeah.
with Jill on
Yeah.
that one.
I mean, that's kind of
or if that's
interesting to
something
me.
we could look at going forward.
Yeah.
Why we couldn't combine the 2 groups.
Yeah.
Well, this year, for the first time, we invited the pre-K parents to join the PTA, and we basically were just really transparent. We said, hey, we'd love for you to join us. In the past, pre-K parents have wanted to be part of things, but to be clear, the pre-K won't benefit from money that the PTA raises.
The same way, yeah.
But your
so that's
kids
probably-
are, they're gonna go through the school, so they'll still benefit, and we've had a lot of interest. So I think it's almost like a step-by-step process to integrate.
Well, sometimes it's competing groups, right? So it's like the same groups competing for the energy, yeah.
Yeah.
Margaret, did you have something? Oh, I thought I heard you say something. I thought you were in the back.
I also wanted to just make sure that pre-K parents knew that this year
working with Jill, that pre-K parents could belong to the PTA.
Okay, wonderful.
And I think that some of that disconnection might have happened in years past.
Yes, that's what I
when there
wondered.
were more than just Georgetown families.
Oh,
So
okay,
that might have
okay, so that might make a
contributed to
difference.
being more community rather than a public school.
Got it.
That makes
Okay,
sense.
That makes sense,
Yeah.
yeah. Right, because we used to have people from different towns.
Now pre-K
coming.
is just for Georgetown?
Well, generally,
Is
that's what,
yes.
that is what we've moved to that. Well, because we've had people on waiting lists, you know,
In
our
Georgetown.
philosophy has been we wanna serve our Georgetown
Sure.
families
yeah,
first.
yeah.
You know, if there's open spaces, then maybe we could
Sure.
discuss that. And, you know, at the point at which Pembroke moves, if we wanna determine that we wanna expand our preschools, you know, we may want then to say, we now have 1 or 2 classrooms in addition, and now there is an opportunity for people to attend our school district. Obviously, they wouldn't be able to stay for K,
Right.
but if they were looking for a really good preschool option, it might be possible to do that. So that's a conversation we're gonna have to have.
Yeah.
Kind of entrepreneurial, I think.
Any other questions or feedback?
This is great.
Okay,
other-
so
Yeah, thank you.
we do have to, approve.
Well,
There's
Are
one or
you
two-
doing any of these fundraisers where you're gonna solicit, staff and students during the school day?
Square One Art, which with Square One Art, what we plan to do is send the communications home. We're going to, the room parents are gonna work with the students in the classroom to do the artwork. We'll submit it to Square One and then send home the information, and it's up to the parents if they choose to purchase or not. And then the PK t-shirts, again, it's just a form that goes home. If they wanna order, they can order and send the money in for their t-shirt.
But you're not soliciting the teachers,
No.
and you're not soliciting the little teeny kids. You're going
No,
through their
to their
parents.
parents,
So I don't
yes.
think
Well,
it
like, so,
requires.
yeah, well, it just indicated
I
here there are
know,
a
but-
couple, but what about, like, oh, this is Margaret's things, okay. All right, so those are just regular,
Now, the Margaret's, the list here, the
charitable fundraisers.
those, I think
Direct
you would,
solicitation.
because that's direct solicitation. But the things Rachel just talked about, I wouldn't say there's anything there that, you know, is required by policy. I did put the policy in here so you could,
Yep.
so you could see that that's why we have people come
Sure.
before us. The principal otherwise has the authority to be able to approve whatever fundraisers they wanna have through the school. But if it's solicitation of staff and students, it has to come here.
Right.
good luck with everything.
Thank you.
That's
Thank you
where I
for
started
coming.
off, you know, I was
Oh,
the
did you?
president of the preschool for a couple of years.
And look where she is now.
Now my youngest is in 6th grade, but it's so funny, the t-shirts are still there and.
Oh, yeah.
And the t-shirts are very successful too.
They are, yeah, they still draw their little faces and stuff.
I know.
We'll
And the
have to
square
get the
one art
teachers
is
to do it too,
great.
though, the teachers one year
They did
made their
last
little
year,
face,
yeah.
yeah, that was cute, yeah.
Thank
Good
Thank
luck.
you.
Thank
great.
you.
Thank you. Great. Linda. Hi, Linda.
Hello.
All right.
Hello, my name is Linda Cochran, and I am the kindergarten director for the PTA. And I think that you all have the list that we sent out of the monthly fun day fundraisers proposed for Pearlie. Most of these were done last year. There isn't, I don't think that there's anything new to the list. The only changes from last year would be, that 3 of the charity choices are yet to be determined. They would be local charities. All of, as you can notice, all of the charities are local charities. I think that this is a great way for the children to start to get a sense of community and giving back, working together and giving back.
Yeah.
Nothing has really changed from last year, and I can go over them with you if you like, but.
Yeah, sure.
Like I said, they're all monthly, so in October, the children would wear black and orange on a chosen day. What we have proposed right now is October 18th, and the money would go to the Mike Donahoe Melanoma Foundation. In November, it's Veterans Day. The children would wear red, white, and blue. and the charity would be the Veterans of Georgetown.
Can I just ask about the Veterans of Georgetown? Are you in contact with the actual group?
The veterans
Have you
agent?
met them?
Mr. Hart? Have you talked to
Is it
Mr.
Mr. Hart?
It has
Yeah.
been.
Last year, we did call and ask for veterans to come to our, it was either Veterans Day or Memorial Day, but
I mean, it sounds like a wonderful cause. I just got a fraudulent phone call a couple of years ago from a group claiming to be Veterans of Georgetown, and I traced them, and the police, we traced them, and they were some organization down in New York that were not at all affiliated. It was really, it was money down.
There is a veterans agent.
Great, so I just wanted to be sure you were giving it to the real people, the real deal.
last year, another parent, again, collected the money. The reason why we go through the PTA is because, as you know, we don't handle money, we don't collect it, we don't disperse it. So the parent that I was working with, I trust that she sent the money to actually Veterans of Georgetown.
Right, that was just, be sure these are the real Veterans of Georgetown. Okay.
And I, just before you go on with
Very
that,
worthy
just
cause.
The Mike Donahoe, half the money goes to the melanoma and half does go to the scholarship fund at the high school. So I just want to let you know that too. Great.
And in December, the children would bring in their favorite book. And also proposed for part of that is a month-long food drive that would benefit the Abundant Food Pantry right here in Georgetown, which serves Georgetown families. In January, Patriot Sports Day. That charity has yet to be determined. In February would be Wear Red for Valentine's Day to benefit the American Heart Association. In March, Wear Green. We have yet to determine the charity there. In April would be Red Sox opening day, and the charity would be the Red Sox Foundation, or another one that Margaret and I had talked about was the Martin Richards Scholarship Fund. And also in May, for Memorial Day, would be Red, White, and Blue, and we have yet to choose the charity there.
Okay.
But more than likely, again, it would all be stay local.
That's great. Kids get excited for stuff like that.
And it's their first sense of, raising funds and giving back, and when the flyers go home, they can talk about it with their parents and
Making a
and how it-
difference.
Yes.
They're doing that, yeah.
So what is
Together
it,
we
you
can do
charge like
more.
$1? Yes. You charge like $1 for them to?
Yes, generally they're all $1, and the amounts have, they vary from event.
Yeah.
$150 to $300 that goes to local charities.
It's great.
It's not the amount, right, it's the,
It's what the kids are doing. They're having fun while they're raising money to help others.
It's terrific.
That's good.
It's
Thank you,
wonderful.
Linda, for
Thank
doing
you.
that.
Any other questions?
Yeah, but we do have to approve these.
yes, I would use that, that motion, just
Yeah.
make it not preschool, but just the.
Okay. The chair will entertain a
early
motion
fundraisers.
to approve the 2013-2014 Fund Day fundraisers as presented.
So moved. Second.
Any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. All right, so at this time, we're gonna go from, instead of the administrative reports, we're just gonna do the financial report.
Okay, so I have two things, if Mike wants to come up here. The first is the transfers that you have in your packet. I have another one to add to it. The one that you received in your packet was mostly salary accounts. It was just getting all the accounts balanced based upon people leaving, us filling in the positions, people's raises that were dispersed. So, but I also want to add to it, on the table in front of you, you have a transfer request from the high school textbook account to the middle school textbook account. It came in, I think, sometime this week, and I didn't have time to put it on the transfer request form. It's to purchase, I think it's health textbooks. I think it was health. Was it
Yeah.
health? Health textbooks. And if you remember, I don't know if you remember, but we did cut the middle school textbook budget this year, you know, like by $9,000 or $10,000, so they're out of money. So, but if you, I don't know what you, if you have any questions, but if you want to make a motion, I think you want to add, usually the motion has the numbers of the transfers and the total. Is that how you usually do it?
Yeah.
I don't have the orange notes in front of me.
Yeah,
So if you want to add,
I'm not sure I put them in here. We didn't do that one.
we didn't do that one.
No,
we
we
didn't
didn't.
put
Okay,
this
so-
here.
you could update the motion to say transfers 1 through 63.
That's right, that's usually what we do.
1 through 63, and the total, do you have it, Bobby?
No, I don't even have.
No, it's not in the
No, we
orange
don't.
notes, because we don't generally
We didn't
put the
do the
motions for
motions.
yours. I mean, we can in the future, but we don't
Okay,
generally.
so the motion would be transfers 1 through 63, and the total is $431,761. And as I said, they're almost all salary accounts, except for this.
What I have is up to 61.
Right, but I added, in front of you, you had these two,
Yeah.
so there's two
Got it.
more and another $3,000.
Got it. All right.
Which ones do you have? What's that?
Can I just ask, do you know, are these new textbooks?
I don't know that.
I mean,
Peter?
are they
Are these new textbooks?
more of the
middle
same
school
textbooks we've
textbooks?
had because the old ones are falling apart?
Yes,
Is it new textbooks or replacement?
That's
yeah, the books he has
replacement.
are,
Yeah,
I was just curious. Okay, thanks.
They're 10 years old. In bad.
I was gonna say bad shape.
I'm
No,
sure.
Out of shape.
okay.
30 books, $3,000.
Well, textbooks are,
I know.
$80
No, I know,
a
I know.
textbook.
Yeah, some of them are
It's
very
shipping.
expensive, I know.
This is an updated version, right?
I don't know yet, we just determined that today and asking for a quote, so.
Oh,
I would
okay.
assume so.
Okay.
You mean, by updated, you mean different than the book
Yeah,
that
I
they
would
currently
think so.
have?
Hi,
Yes.
that's the, like, this is like version 3, so there might be,
Yeah.
Okay.
Might be version 5.
by this time.
Might be version 5.
One might,
Okay. So we make a motion right now to do that?
So moved?
Yes.
oh.
Oh,
you haven't
no, I
read.
didn't do it yet. Okay, so the chair will entertain a motion to approve, budget transfers 1 through 63, in the amount of $431,761.
So moved?
Second.
Any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Okay, so the second thing, under finance, was we have a request for school committee approval for a 3-year lease purchase for the Buildings and Grounds Department to buy a new truck. I gave an explanation memo here. Our truck is really old. It was a hand-me-down from the, I think, the light department. It's
Which we were happy to get at the time, because we didn't have
and we're still happy
anything.
to keep it.
Yeah.
But it's really, you know, it's fine for going back and forth to each school and moving some stuff in the back, but we have to put some money into it. But we have 2 maintenance men. When we restructured last year, the department, in order to save money and be more efficient, so we don't have to call subcontractors for all our repairs, our goal then was, we thought we were getting a truck through, I think the capital projects or something, and it didn't go through. And then we had hoped to get a truck that was surplus through the police department, which again, didn't work out. So, it's just, it's very inefficient the way we're operating right now. 2 maintenance men go out together, one drops one off at a site, and they do whatever work they can, need to do. And then if it's a job they can do together, great, like the grounds and stuff. But if if we have a crisis in one building and a crisis in another building, we have one driving the other one around. Mike drives his own car around, and I had asked either of the maintenance people if they wanted, if we could reimburse them, but I understand, I put miles on their car, and you're putting heavy tools in their car, and they really would prefer not to. So, in addition, just so you know what the budget piece is, Mike had $10,000 budgeted in a new equipment account that we didn't use. I don't know, I think initially he had planned to buy some vacuum cleaner equipment with it, but I think you had bought those with your facilities revolving account. So that would be the first year. We would have to transfer $1,100 out of one of his maintenance accounts, but that would be the first year payment of $11,355. And then I guess as a district and as committee, we'd have to make a decision if we continue to use that $10,000 line or if we added the additional $11,355 into our budget for next year for the following 2 years.
Because it's a multi-year lease, you have to sign off on it. And Budget and Finance did review this, and we had a lengthy conversation about it. And
we did.
we also talked about, does it make sense to go to CIP for this? Because it is obviously a capital expense. But given the fact that we have a new school coming online, we have renovations to the middle high school, we were trying to think about what might be best for the town overall, and decided that if we were able to do this lease, that it might make sense to just use our money within our district for this and just commit. It means that when we build the budget, we have to commit this money. We don't get to say, oh, we changed our mind. We're doing a 3-year lease, and that's where we're going with that.
So were you saying that Budget and Finance does feel that the next 2 years you can,
There
You
is
can build
money
it in.
in that equipment line, and it's not at this time needed for anything else
Not
that's
that-
foreseeable.
Right, I mean, we have in the
So it would
past,
make sense to use that.
in the past couple of years, we have been fortunate to be able to purchase the ride-on floor cleaners for each school. Pembroke will get all new equipment when it comes online, all new custodial and maintenance equipment. Last year, when we installed all the security equipment after Newtown, again, we depended on some of that from our revolving accounts, and so we were fortunate to have money there, and we needed to do it right away. So we're totally outfitted with security. We don't foresee any new equipment there. So unless we had something replacement equipment, but I can't see it because all 3
We're in good
ride-ons
shape.
are brand new.
The override helped with it too. We had equipment that was put into the override budget and
I think
supported by the town.
I think your snow removal equipment is
It's
all in
new
good
and
shape.
updated, yeah.
So we don't foresee needing that equipment money, I mean,
This
the
is
other.
the equipment that we need right now.
Right, and the other alternative that Mike and I talked about is if the committee wasn't, in support of this, then we could take the $10,000 that he has in that equipment line and purchase a used truck. But, we already have a used truck, a very used truck.
truck that we can get a
becomes
few years
problems
out.
with used and.
Right, and right now we have to put some money
Used
into
to-
that other truck, but
We have
we
to
didn't pay
invest a
for
little
that.
bit of money in
Right.
the
Right.
truck we have.
The other truck that came down from from Georgetown Electric, does that have a plow on it during the winter?
It's 2-wheel drive.
Okay.
Yeah.
So this would allow us.
This
have
one
a
has
plow.
a plow, I
Yeah.
saw that.
And this actually would be very helpful to us. We talked about, the access road that we're all talking about with the Pembroke. Working with, Peter Durkee, but, it may be that it might just be easy for us to
clean
put
it
the
ourselves.
plow and just clean that road, ourselves, so we can ensure that it's always open for the emergency access that we want it to be.
And with that plow, you'll be able to do some of the sidewalks too, by
Yeah.
extending the plow on top of the curb,
Yeah.
which right
Yeah.
now Peter can't
Peter,
do, and he
yeah.
tries to do it with those big.
Yeah, but they're just
heavy-duty-
too big, yeah.
They're just too big.
Yeah, and that's how we get the nooks
We're gonna
and
have
the
quite a
curbs.
sidewalk up there too,
Yeah.
down to Elm Street.
There's gonna be a lot of need for this vehicle, and I think there was 2 attempts at getting a vehicle before, so this isn't a new issue. It's been something that we've been trying to do for a couple years now, and I think it's a wise use of the money, and I think it's great that the schools can do that, and it's not a CIP.
Yeah. Yeah, and Mr. Pantadosi, who was the consultant that was hired by the town to look at the shared maintenance, which is still up in the discussion phase, when he came out to tour the schools, Mike took him around, he was completely amazed that we didn't have a working truck that was of some kind,
We got used,
some level of
yeah.
quality,
Yeah, I think he was
Some level
pleased,
of
he was impressed, I think,
dependability.
that we had restructured and added the maintenance positions in order to save money, but then when we're driving each other around, so kind of defeated the purpose.
You thought that was very
Pretty basic tool.
ineffective.
To say the least.
Yeah.
Yeah, so.
And one other thing with the feasibility study, I mean, we're gonna have so many things to ask the CIP for that putting the truck, taking care of the truck ourselves just kind of
Yeah.
makes sense.
Yeah.
That was another, yeah, we had
Yeah.
that thought.
Okay.
Good point.
I just want to be clear too, this is a lease purchase, just like the, like when we do the computers. When we first started talking about a lease, someone said to me, you're leasing the vehicle? And like, gonna return it? You know, like, you know,
Yeah.
people lease cars. No. We're financing it and it's a 3-year lease, so.
And then we
Like a
own
car
it.
loan.
Then we own it outright.
Yeah.
We own it, yes. We pay $1 on the 4th year and then we own it.
Okay, so the total is the 34,066?
Yes.
Okay. Would I approve that total, or would we go into the first year lease of that 11?
Yeah, I think you need to approve the total.
Total.
It has to be in the minutes and that you approve the 3-year lease. You don't have to get into the other numbers.
Okay. Okay, so the chair will entertain a motion to approve a multiple year lease, 3-year lease in the amount of 34,000.
31?
34,066.
Second.
Any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Super.
Good luck with it.
Thank you, thank you, Mike, thank you, John.
Thanks, Mike.
Thank you.
Have a nice trip.
Thank you.
Be safe.
Thanks, John.
Thank you.
So I'm wondering if you would be willing to let the school reports go above my report, so that they don't have to stay,
Of course.
well, let's do that. So.
Okay, so we will,
So the DECA ones, Peter, do you wanna talk to the DECA ones?
So we're talking about overnight field trips, and this is an anticipated one. It's from our DECA Club, which is a business group, and they compete internationally. So there are different levels, and the first level is the state level, which we usually do very well at, so we anticipate that's going to happen. And that's an overnight in Boston, I think. And so we would ask you, in case we do have some kids, to approve that. And then the nationals, last year we had several kids make the nationals. That was in California. And Carol, where is it?
Atlanta, Georgia.
Atlanta this year. So in case we do have some people that make it to that level, we're coming to you now for that approval.
And this is happening because the policy was amended, school committee policy for overnight field trips was amended to have them all come in October, by October. And the purpose obviously behind that is, you know, to give people plenty of time to look. So that's why Peter's doing this now, otherwise, you know, Lisa would in the past would have come right before the states and got approval for the states and then right before the
But
nationals.
we'll be back with all our medals later.
That's right.
We'd love to see those.
Yeah, we'd
And
love to see that. We have a very
no doubt.
successful program.
yeah. Okay, so are we just gonna do the states?
I would just
one at a time?
I would approve them one at a time.
Okay.
Is it not in here?
I have
Well.
3-6 to 3-8, then I have the other one.
Actually, you know what? You know why I didn't write about this? Because I didn't expect these to go into the agenda for this meeting. The Camp Kiev one and the Camp Wavis one were my priorities because of the fact that it's a November trip. I was actually expecting to talk about these in October, but obviously, that's why you're not seeing in your orange notes. So.
Well, we do have
if
the
you just-
dates for.
If you
we
just
have-
say, you know, to approve the state the trip to, DECA trip to the state competition in Boston, Mass. And here they are down here.
Georgia.
And the Georgia one is in May?
And the Georgia one is in May.
Okay. So the chair will entertain a motion to approve overnight trip for the DECA state competition in Boston, Mass, Thursday, 3/6/14 through Saturday, 3/8/14, as presented.
So moved.
Second.
Any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, the chair will entertain a motion to approve overnight stay for the DECA national competition in Atlanta, Georgia. The dates, May 2nd, 2014 or May 13th, 2014 through Wednesday, May 7th, 2014 as presented.
Second.
Any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Peter. You might as well stay right there, right?
Okay, we're gonna go on to Camp Kiev.
Yep. So, come on up. Come on up.
There are no parents here this year for the Camp Kiev trip.
No, there aren't. Come on, all of you can come up. They don't bite. Well, you have,
Hey
you
there,
have
how are
quite a
you?
team here.
Welcome.
Some faces who've been here before and some new faces.
So we've been through this quite a bit, so I don't know if you want to just ask us questions about this particular trip. We have two, one for the 6th grade and one for the 8th. Or would you like us to give you a brief summary, or you tell us?
I do have one question right off the top that, I'm just wondering, I know last year we changed it to November. And I thought the reason we changed it to November was, I know that date, that was the only date we could have, correct?
In
Like all of a
November.
sudden, they said, oh, well, we do have another week open, and it's only this particular week.
Well, we changed it because of the MCAS in March,
Okay,
and the only other date was November.
okay. So,
And we also wanted it to go in the fall
Yes.
because it is the foundation of
The
a
rest of
program for the middle
middle
school.
school,
So we didn't want to wait almost a whole year
Yes.
to implement it.
right, I totally agree with the date change, because I did find weather-wise too, I thought it was better.
We loved it, yes. We
So-
loved it.
So that's why we're keeping it at that time frame.
Yes,
We
and
just,
it's a week before, which I'm kind of excited about, because
before
actually 2 weeks
Thanksgiving.
before. So we went the week after Thanksgiving,
Thanksgiving.
which was a little tricky. And then this date came up, the week of the 18th.
Okay.
And my mother has always said that the first 3 weeks of November are gorgeous, which I'm very excited about, because they are. It's kind of funny, her little barometer there. And we have, since Vicki Graffam was a 6th grade team leader, we've tried to get the earlier of the year, but we never could. Kiev was just so full, so we happened to luck out.
Good.
Yeah.
Great.
Okay, that's good.
So it went well last year then, as far.
Oh,
your
wonderful.
perspective, it was-
Wonderful.
It served
No-
its purpose, moving
No
it
hitches,
outward.
yeah.
It was cold, but I
Yeah.
just remember it wasn't as
It was
muddy
cool.
and.
It wasn't. I mean, it wasn't frigid like March, because we've been frigid. But March has also been 60 and
Yeah.
gorgeous. So it was cool at night. It was kind of like the fall. Yeah, well, it is the fall. So I'm thinking of tonight. You know, I'm out on a field every day after school, and it's beautiful and sunny, and that sun goes down, and it's cold. So, and what we love about Kiev too in November is you have a longer day. In March, the sun goes down at 4:30. So now the sun goes down at 6ish, and they have that bright light, and they can do a little bit more outside. It's a little, you know, it has that safer environment. So.
Okay, then that was the only specific question I had right now,
Okay,
so.
so you ready to vote?
What about the 8th grade trip? So how do you think it's different than the 6th grade? I mean, I know it's shorter.
It's shorter. I think it's perfect timing for 8th grade. The children are treated differently.
Okay.
We go to a different campus.
Oh, it's at a different campus
Yeah.
completely? Oh,
Wavis is across the lake from the leadership camp.
Okay.
So, it's a little bit more of I like it. It's a little more intimate
Yeah.
environment.
Kind of like an island.
It is kind of like an island. There's like there's a man-made peninsula that goes from the mainland right out into the lake, and that's where they have the adventure course at Wavis.
Oh, okay.
And I just think it's a perfect spot to go with the children to culminate their years together since they've been. I kind of joke with the kids and say, well, this is the great thing to go. It's the last time you're all going to be together since the day you were born, so it's kind of a cool thing before you all go on your own, you know. And it's just really special.
So
And,
do they have a 5-day, Michelle, or they only have a 3-day?
the 3-day was more our choice.
Yeah, okay. So they have either one?
Yes, they do.
Okay.
Yeah.
And two, I just want to say, Kiev really kind of tails their curriculum from the teachers and what we recommend
Right.
our problems or issues we want to accomplish. So with sixth grade particularly, the bullying is big coming into that middle school. So we really kind of focus on the bullying in our sixth grade curriculum, where I know eighth grade does as well, but eighth graders have a lot of other issues now because they're older. So again, Kiev interviews the teachers and asks how they want them to curtail their experience. So I think that's a nice collaborative relationship there about the curriculum.
Yeah, it is good. And we do an awful lot talking about goal setting for high school and discussing fears about going to high school or nervousness about going there. We, the teachers, are very involved with the kids during the day and their activities. We stay away from a lot of the talk with the counselors because the kids seem to be freer if we're not there. You know, but I mean, we're there, but we're not in the room with them, you know what I mean? Then we meet them afterwards, we do our thing. So the counselors actually advised us to do that because they felt that the kids held back when we were in the room and they didn't hold back as much when we were not in the room. You know, but on the same side, they see us as different people there. It's a really special relationship, I think.
Yes.
Well, I was gonna say
Mr.
that.
Lawson's very popular at camp. Very popular.
Oh, yeah.
Sure I do think it does show the kids a different side of their teachers, and also the fact that you take the time away from your own families to go. I think that does definitely send a really good message.
Thank you. Yes, it does. I agree. It's one of the best experiences I've done. You know, as a parent, I came away when I went the first time as a different person, as a parent. Every year I'm getting this rejuvenation of being a good parent. Of course, I'm being a teacher, and how I need to do an experiential, you know, I have to make an experiential situation somehow in my class and get to this, to their level. And so it's just an amazing, it really is an amazing place. That's all I'm saying.
And I had a special thing last year. We had to bring a nurse with us because of a student's 504 plan. And we had a hard time finding a nurse, but I have a sister who's a nurse. She wasn't working at the time. So she came as the nurse, and she couldn't believe, someone who's never been there before, she goes, I can't believe you bring your kids here every year. This is, because she was a nurse in Hayward. She goes, oh, I wish our kids could do something like this. So and she had heard me talk about it for years and years, and when she saw it, she goes, oh man, she didn't even mind sleeping in a bunk bed.
Yep. Yeah.
No,
So.
that's good.
They're beautiful cabins.
Yeah, they're very
Yes,
nice, very nice
yes.
cabins.
So it will be interesting when the school configuration changes. Because what often happens in places and I think that maybe there's been a few questions about this in Georgetown, and there's benefits to it being in sixth grade because it's a new experience and it's a new, you know, a new environment for the kids. But it's also tricky, you know, making that adjustment to add one more adjustment. Sometimes that can be a little tricky. So what's often the case is you'll see like culminating trips like in eighth grade, but before kids leave, you know, middle school, and then the very last year of an elementary time. So, you know, the kids look forward to, oh wow, you know, the kids in sixth grade or fifth grade, they're gonna get to go to Camp Kiev or Nature's Classroom, whatever the option is. So actually it's gonna be interesting, because if we continue with the Kiev, or we look at some other option, you know, to do it perhaps in sixth grade at the elementary school at the end of their career is gonna be a little different than what we have currently now. And, you know, we wanna look at the eighth grade trip, maybe it still makes, you know, sense to, you know, to do it. But I think that there's gonna be an opportunity for some good discussion, you know, as we go on. It will be different if it's the last trip, you know, at the end of an elementary career versus the first trip of a
middle
transition to middle school.
The only thing that, well, it might be not as important because the school is changing, but I just thought that, like in Pembroke, if the parents, like in fifth grade, were maybe given some information on this, because I know just when, like, my first child went, I only heard about it through, like, other parents and other kids, and it was always, for the most part, it was always great. But you never really heard it from the people that matter.
Sure.
You know, exactly what, you know, was going on, and what do you bring, and what do you do when you're there. So
And for
I
people
think
to have the
people,
chance to
I
save
think
and-
a lot of parents are apprehensive when their first child goes. So when will you be presenting this to the parents where they can come in and get all the information that they're gonna need?
Thursday, October 10th.
Okay.
We have a pen night.
So, but I think what I hear Barbie saying is maybe
Invite the
something.
fifth grade parents, is that what you're saying?
Or maybe in the spring, talk to the fifth grade parents about, here's what's gonna happen next year, we go on this trip.
Yeah, just kind
So
of
there's,
prepare
so
them.
there's
Well-
more information in the fifth grade.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, we really haven't had a transition program in the
No,
middle school
no.
for fifth grade. And one of my goals, Peter, is to create a real strong transition plan program.
That's great.
So that, yes, so
That might be
we
something.
start that in January, February, get these kids ready, get these parents ready, just like you said.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
But that is
And
around
that
the
will be a
time-
part of
Yes,
it, there's no doubt.
It feels like
That
a
is
big
around the
deal.
time too, though, that those children in fifth grade are like all
Starting
of a
to
sudden
become-
realizing, okay, I'm ready for middle school.
Yes, yes.
Oh, yes.
So I
um,
definitly have that.
The second year of
Yeah,
fifth
going
grade
forward.
presents a whole
So that would be great,
psychology with the students.
you know, if we could look at that next year, or this year, actually, transitioning to next
Yeah.
year.
Yeah. Okay, so the October tenth meeting would be for the sixth grade
Correct.
parents, it's
Mhm.
not, it has nothing to do with the Wabash trip.
Correct.
Yeah.
Okay.
Wonderful.
Because the kids have already been in sixth grade, we had a pin night, first and second year we went with eighth graders, and really nobody came.
Yeah.
So my idea will be to just send out some nice detailed information as it gets closer, closer and closer.
Yeah.
So,
So
and
maybe you'll take a risk, we're talking about this idea of, trying to do more webcasts, because we are finding that, and we're not the only ones, but we are finding that it's harder to get more and more people in.
Uh-huh.
But that if we could do something where you were sitting and explaining it, and then you could pop it up on the website, and
Carol, I
somebody
would do
could
anything
click.
to feel like a movie
Some,
star.
some, I told you, you'd be willing to take a risk, but then they could click on and they could hear you talking about it, I mean,
Yeah.
that's another way to
Oh,
get
that
information.
sounds good,
Yeah.
yeah.
I love that.
If you're
Absolutely.
interested in that, we'd love to work with you on that.
I miss my calling, I really miss my calling.
calling. All on the web and videos. It's great.
Wonderful, okay. So, the chair will entertain a motion to approve the sixth grade trip to Camp Kiev from November 18th, 2013 through November 22nd, 2013 as presented.
Second.
Any questions? All in favor? Aye. The chair will entertain a motion to approve the eighth grade trip to Camp Wavis from May 28th, 2014 through May 30th, 2014 as presented.
Second.
Any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you for coming
Thank you.
tonight.
Thank you
Thank
all
you
very
very
much for
much.
being here.
Zoom closer. Is that on?
I look forward
It's not in
to
here.
October 10th. And there's a school committee meeting that night.
6 to 7.
Oh, you'll be busy.
I'll be there, I think.
All right, wonderful.
Okay.
Okay, so let's see.
So, now we'll do the
Yeah,
administrative.
we can do that. Okay, so the first thing that I wrote a little bit to you about is, that, Donna and, Margaret and I, have started, a series of meetings, to just talk about transition, and we're anticipating that, in the spring perhaps, really most particularly in the spring, we wanna set up a few strategic, activities that, for parents, for students, for staff. Obviously, the two principals are working in coordination, up till that time, but, it's still early in the year, and we, it's Donna's final year, so it's important that Donna, be considered the principal of the school, and that, we don't just, run into her, in her territory. But it's also important for Margaret to feel that she and Donna can work together, so that things that are going to not necessarily impact the following year. So, we have a collegial, conversations on a regular basis, and we started the conversation, and we'll go. So one of the things that we talked about at our last meeting was the importance of having, like when we come into new places, we have written transition plans, generally, or written, transition plans, I guess would be it. Or entry plans, something like that. So what we're gonna be working on through these conversations is, a written plan that we'll publish, we'll come talk to you about, in terms of what are those strategic activities that we are gonna wanna put together and we execute in the spring. So I just wanted to let you know that that process is happening and, you know, we're all working collaboratively on it to try to come up with a way that we can really, continue with a lot of the vision that Donna had at the school. You know, Donna and Margaret, have a lot of commonalities in terms of, and we've been working for multiple years now, on the coordination between the Pearlie and the Pembroke School, you know, from curriculum to, you know, social curriculum, like the responsive classroom. And while there's always room for uniqueness and everybody brings their own special gifts and talents to it, you know, we're trying to have a continuity so that, you know, we really do have a philosophy that moves from level to level. So, you know, there are certain traditions at Pembroke that are really wonderful. You know, we wanna learn as much as, you know, Margaret, learn as much about those, you know, and look at what the traditions are at at Pearlie, and just try to find some places where, you know, there's a nice overlap, so we can continue to support the, you know, things like the schedule, you know. Obviously, the first year you take over a new place, you know, it's in your best interest not to change everything. It's in your best interest to really look carefully, but if we can spend some time this year, because as you know, there's a transition of the year, Margaret will be the principal of both. Any wisdom we can garner from Donna and the experiences of Pembroke under her leadership, you know, that Margaret could continue on and learn about now, that's all the better. So that, I just wanted you to be aware that we are having those conversations. And I thank Donna and Margaret both for the extra time that they're taking to make sure that those, you know, those kind of conversations can happen. In terms of the superintendent's goals, I did include, summary of some goals. So, we talked a little bit about it at the school committee retreat. You know, when we chatted about some ideas things that you felt were important. We are updating the strategic plan, so we'll have our 2013-14 goals. And the school improvement plans dovetail with those district goals. So that you'll see the strategic goals for the year in October. But what I've done is I've taken a look at this, and Pam was very helpful, and Barbie, in terms of sitting with me and taking a look at them, which is exactly what I hoped would happen. It's a multi-step process. So the first thing is the goals, and then the second is this thing that's referred to as an educator plan, where you then say, okay, based on this goal, these are the kind of key actions. This is when certain timeline, you know, certain benchmarks can get hit, and then what evidence would we want to look at together, you know, to ensure that, you know, I was meeting it, or we were working toward it at an acceptable level. And if you remember, one of the things Mike said when we were chatting with him at the retreat is, you know, then you can find times to just check in, you know, and I really would like to continue with Barbie and Pam, you know, throughout this process, because I do find that's helpful to, you know, hear the thoughts of others and to obviously share my own ideas, clarifies what I'm really thinking. So anyway, the first goal, and many of these goals, as we've talked about at the administrative level, are more than 1 year goals. But at the end of the first year, we would update you on, I would update you on where we are, so that there'd be evidence shared with that. So I have to do, by the educator evaluation process, I have to do 1 professional practice goal and 1 student learning goal. And then we can have as many as 3 to 5 district goals. And the principals have 1 professional practice goal, 1 student learning goal, and 1 school improvement goal as a minimum. And then the teachers have 1 professional practice goal and 1 student learning goal. And then, of course, we have the whole rubric in addition to that, but we're just talking SMART goals right now. So the first one has to do with increasing communication to the public and using, you know, I said at least 3 modalities. But, you know, I'm in the process of scheduling some television kind of time with Charlie, and Julie and I have been talking about a newsletter, and then the blog. I met with Barry Belanger, because he's been very busy at the beginning of the year. It's been hard for us to get a time. But we're planning to relaunch the blog on October 1st, and Barry, Alana had some ideas of some different kinds of prompts and questions we might ask. And we're trying to figure out a way so that if somebody obviously goes to the site and clicks on the superintendent's blog, they see it. But is there a way for people that want to subscribe to have it come up on their email? So we're investigating that. Barry's talking about Blogspot, and he's figuring all that out. But anyway, you know, we're trying to move in that direction. So that's the first goal. And then goal 2, which is another professional practice goal, is one that the administrators and I are all using, and it's actually, you saw it in the school improvement goals as well. And that has to do with the fact that we will have all teachers and administrators by 2014-15 will have completed the 5-step evaluation cycle. And when we talk a little bit more, if you notice the meeting notes, or the meeting topics, there's one in there on educator evaluation. When you see that, you see the cycle, that goal will make more sense to you. Goal 3 is the student learning goal, and that I have had TBD here because one of the things that we've been very busy with is, looking at the MCAS scores, and the administrative team and I, on our meeting on Tuesday, sat down and tried to figure out a goal that we, again, would all use. One of the things this process is really encouraging is departments and teams of teachers and grade levels and administrators to work collaboratively on goals that everybody's gonna work on together and share the responsibility for, getting action for. So the goal that we had was by the end of 2014, I'll write this and send this out to you, but by the end of 2014-15, the performance of the special education subgroup, students in the special education subgroup, will increase by 7% in English, language arts, and math as measured by the PPI, which is you'll hear a little bit more about the performance index. We chose to focus on the special ed subgroup because, as you're gonna see, or if you had a chance to review your packets, you'll notice that we still have some gaps there that we really do need to continue to fill. So we might as well focus on that and try hard to put our energy, a core of energy into that. Goal 4 is one of the district improvement goals. And one of the things we talked about at the retreat, and one of the things we're continuing to talk about in the district, is the need to continue to look at technology, in particular the technology infrastructure. So this is actually a 1-year goal, which we would develop a technology infrastructure plan that could be implemented in 14-16, those 2 years. And the evidence would be the completion of the plan. And why we think that's important is with Pembroke coming online in a couple of years, where there's gonna need to be a lot of involvement in what technology gets purchased, and then how does it all get maintained. And then the high school high school, middle school have technology needs. We've increased, we've increased a lot with a little bit of money, through some very creative, financing and fundraising. But at the same time, if whatever we're gonna do needs to be well coordinated. So I've already told you that my intention would be to support, coming to the committee and asking about, some type of position that would really allow us to have somebody that high level that can plan that and then look at our plan. So that's this goal, and that came actually out of our discussion with the committee. Goal 5 is another district improvement goal, and basically this is a 2-year goal. And one of the things you'll see in the district goals, and it's been in our district strategic plan, but one of the things that's gonna really, kick in as part of our trying to improve the lowest performing students, as well as all of our students, is this response to intervention strategy that
That's important.
we want to put a real spotlight on. We've been talking about it, we've introduced it. Donna Strait has been very interested in helping us to lead this, and Margaret and others have worked together, the first thing we have to do is really define in Georgetown what is response to intervention. We're trying to, obviously draw heavily on the resources, and then look at what we have for resources to be able to target that, and then what are the gaps. So this is basically talking about implementing the response to intervention strategy and ensuring that there is actually time built into schedules to allow for interventions to happen. And then, of course, we have to one of the big action steps is to take a look at just make a big map. What do we have now for interventions at what levels and what grades? And then I think what we're going to see is we have a lot of things that may not necessarily be clear as to who and when they should be implemented, and they're not necessarily across the board. So if we look at students, for example, that have language-based learning disabilities, do we use a similar set of one or two interventions all the way through? If that's an appropriate thing to do. So that's the discussion we're having in the district now, but that will be part of the evidence we would share with how well we achieve. This looks like it might, I know at least some of the principals are also interested in having that be one of their interests, their goals. And then finally, one of the things that came out again at the retreat, and was discussed at the school committee, was this issue of wellness, the wellness committee. And is there a way that we can, kind of, reinvigorate that? And I know Joan's very interested in the new food service person taking a strong, leadership role in that. And I really would love to see one of the nurses actually take a strong, or somebody in guidance, because I think there's a lot that they bring to the table. But the goal here was to have an active wellness committee and really be focused on the elements of that wellness policy to determine, to what degree are we meeting the expectations, where are the greatest needs and gaps. It's a 2-year goal, not because we don't want to do anything with wellness this year. Our goal would be to get this wellness committee up and running this year. But it might take us 2 years to really do an effective job of really being able to determine what, how effectively are we implementing the plan. So, Barbie had mentioned something to me. I don't have a problem making it a 1-year goal, because we will start it this year, but I just don't know, if we're going, I know we put it on the topics. I put it on the topics twice. I think the wellness committee is coming to do some kind of a little update. We'll go over the topics in a bit, but, so the goal would still be that we would meet this two times, updates for the committee with regard to progress, but it might be more effective to look at the progress if you had 4 reports as opposed to 2 reports. But that's really, I don't feel strongly either way on that. I'm happy to work with the committee. So so the next step is I write the specifics underneath how I'm seeing that this would work. And then, what evidence, and we've been talking about, the poor teachers are all worried, like they think they have to have these huge binders of evidence for everything. And one of the things that I've been hearing more and more as I've been going to a lot of these workshops is, they don't necessarily think a lot of evidence is really necessary or helpful. Because what you don't want to do is have people like just putting worksheets and things like that. And you want meaningful evidence, So I think we just need to talk about, well, what would you like to see from me in terms of meaningful evidence, so that you would feel comfortable, being able to determine what the rating would be. Okay? So, I know that you're just seeing this now, but if these goals, are ones that you feel you'd like to support, I'm happy to start working on the next stage.
I just had one question on goal 3, student learning,
Yep.
and the MCAS, and is there why is it just for the lowest performing students versus?
Well, we could choose any students, but right now when we go over the MCAS results with you, what keeps us from being a level 1 district across the boards is our performance with our subgroups. And our lowest performing subgroup is special education students, which that wouldn't be shocking, okay? But the goal here is to make sure that whatever we're doing is allowing that subgroup to make 10% growth overall. Not every individual student makes that. So what we're trying to do is to hit, is to improve by doing strategic things. We've just decided that the special education subgroup was where we wanted to focus our energy.
And so
It's not that we're not paying attention to everybody else, but if this is the student learning goal, that's the group that you would target. We were also discussing, well, what if we did the lowest 20% of students, right? We also talked about, well, what if we looked at a percentage of kids that are in needs improvement and moving them to proficient? I mean, we could choose any and all of these, and frankly, we're working on any and all of these. It's just what one are we gonna identify that we're all, as a district, all the district administrators are gonna work on in their
There's
school.
just, from the brief glance that I took at the other data we'll be looking at tonight, that seems to make a lot of sense to me. as a goal. Just seems to align with
Are you
what
thinking if we maybe wanna focus on a different group, Rob? I'm not sure.
No, I
Or
mean.
you're just wondering how it came up that
It
way?
makes all the sense in the world to focus on that group. I'm just wondering, and I'm understanding, but I can't help but wonder about the other groups as well.
Yeah, so when Julie comes on up and we talk about what the process is for how we're looking at MCAS, and the school principals look down to the student level. You know, our goal is always to look at every group of students and say, okay, you know, what, at least 10 kids in this particular grade, if we just do something a little different with them, they're sitting right there at the top of the needs improvement category, what can we do? So it's gonna help us with our RTI, because that's what that is, that's response to intervention at all levels. And also, even with our top kids, you know, I mean, we have a lot of kids that are in advanced, right? And so we don't stop challenging them, right? So we need to look at it helps us with our curriculum alignment, it helps us with our groupings of students, it helps us with, you know, supporting students who need to be challenged a little bit more, you know?
Exactly.
Yeah, so the nice thing about MCAS, even though no testing system is perfect by any means, but one of the things that's nice about it is they don't just send you back the score. And then you go, well, what do we do with this? You know, we've got this percentage of kids that are needs improvement. The fact that we get information that literally goes down to the item, so you can look at the individual students, that's how come we have, by the time the students go to high school, they all graduate with an MCAS diploma, and you saw the high school results. And that's, you know, high school teachers we're proud of them and we're very happy, but they didn't do that by themselves. The kids had accumulation of knowledge that they've done going through the district, and there are some of those kids that are proficient now, that, like, let's just use our special ed subgroup, that, you know, are in the high needs improvement or the proficient category, that didn't start out there when they took the MCAS when they were in third, fourth, or fifth grade. But because the data comes in and we analyze it and we really look at it, we can make adjustments. And then the whole goal is the rubber meets the road when the kids have to determine whether or not they get a high school diploma that's MCAS sanctioned, right? So the goal is to use the information along the way to put together a plan so that when they get there, they're ready.
And every year, the state gives us a little bit more information, or at least I know as a parent, you know, when you get the
Well, that's right,
reports
then you get
back.
the parent reports, which.
I mean, I'm sure
Which
they-
have been sent out, right, ladies and gentlemen? Parent reports tomorrow.
Tomorrow, right, yes.
Yeah, I mean, we could focus on so much, you know, and that's why, you know, we're gonna get ready to talk about the MCAS results, but I just wanted to draw your attention to a couple of things. It's more effective in some ways in color, but, you know, it is what it is. One of the things that, before we get into Georgetown's, that the Commissioner of Education is really trying very hard to tell the story, and the governor as well, is that when you look at 10th grade overall, you know, since the, you know, inception of when the test was given, you know, the steady climb, you know, you were going from 24% to 78%, you know, so they're proud of that, you know, and they're proud of that. But the one I love the best is the one on the back, because, you know, when you look at our strategic plan, when you hear us talk about things, when you look at the number of topics that we want to talk with you about, that's just what we're talking to you about. There's a lot of work we do beyond that. This was shared at a workshop that I was at by a woman from the Department of Education who is in charge of coherence, because they recognize from the field, they've heard over and over that there's just so many initiatives that people are just kind of, you know, dying on the vine. So she put this together as a way to show that, look at all these things, and now this is why we need a coherence project, okay? But I think it's effective to show you, because this is kind of why we're all going crazy, right? Because everything here isn't equal, for sure, but it all hits the public schools in some way. And this has all been kind of in place for the last 3 years. So this is just an important slide to say why it's important for us to try to focus and try to determine, you know, which of these things, you know, some stuff is mandated. We have no choice. We have to revise our curriculum. We have to do the educator evaluation. I mean, there's a number of things that we have to do in a certain period of time. But it is important to remember that, you know, the work that's being done in public education is awesome, and it is huge, and it doesn't begin, you know, this doesn't begin to even touch it. I can think of 4 or 5 other initiatives that I pointed out to her that aren't on here, and she said, it's not designed to be an exhaustive list. I said, it's exhaustive enough, never mind, you know, so if you're gonna really do it, you know, we're gonna fill the rest of the page up. But I share it with you as a school committee, just to give you a perspective, that the work is vast, and it's hard, and it's not always clear, the direction coming from other levels. But, you know, I can't say enough about how, you know, proud I am to work in this district, because I think we get it, you know, we're really trying to work together, not just, you know, my level, but, you know, across the board, and including the school committee. So, you know, this is just an interesting context for you to view where we're gonna go next. So Julie, do you wanna come on up? So shall I move forward with these goals and work with these?
Yes.
All right.
Yes,
Thank
yes.
you very much. I support
Great,
it.
thank you.
All right, good. All right.
Online.
So we tried not to, you know, throw, I mean, Julie, you know, I mean, the data warehouse has so many graphs,
I've run a lot of
charts,
reports.
you know, and Julie loves reports, and the principals like them, but, you know, you gotta pick the ones that are gonna give you the greatest value. So what we're doing tonight is a high level, you know, 30,000 foot, view. It's not, yeah, you can shut it, thank you, Margaret. It's not by any means, you know, the level that the schools and Julie and others, department heads, really use to look at their data. Is it supposed to be dancing?
We don't know why that's happening. We're just happy that it works right now.
Okay,
So
all
we're
right,
gonna go
good.
with that.
All right.
Last year I came and talked to you about the change in how our data gets reported from the state, and we've changed over from AYP to PPI, and PPI stands for the Progress and Performance Index. And that is an algebraic equation that assembles the data that you see listed there. And the reason why they made the change from the NCLB AYP world to PPI was for a number of reasons, but Massachusetts signed on to a waiver, and in doing so, we had to join into this progressive Progress and Performance Index composite. And so what we do with that is we try to lower our achievement gap by 50% by 2017. And so they take the MCAS data over time, and they analyze that and come up with a set number that you're supposed to work within to lower the achievement gaps of certain subgroups of students. And so that's the work that we do anyway. When we look at MCAS, we try to determine, you know, who are highest achieving students, but also where are their gaps with student knowledge, and does that indicate a gap in our curriculum? Is that something that we need to consistently look back at and make sure we're addressing correctly? So we do a lot with MCAS data. It's not just a student score. For a lot of it really speaks to a lot of issues within the district, and so we look at it in a number of different ways. So today you're going to see the 30,000 foot view, but we use it in many, many ways, and so I'm sure I'll be talking to you a little bit more about that as time goes on. The other thing that comes from PPI is a district accountability level, and we are a level 2 district. We have 2 schools that are in level 2. And I think 2 schools, in addition to, there are about 258 to 275 schools in level 2, or districts, I should say, in level 2 as well. So the majority of districts reside here. But we do have one level 1 school, and that is Georgetown High School, and so we're very proud of that.
Can you just tell me how many levels there are?
5.
Yeah, 5 levels.
Level 3 or below, the state is doing some intervention with you.
Okay.
Yeah.
When you're in 4 and 5, you know, you could face receivership, where the state's gonna take you over.
Right. The only level 5 district in the state right now is Lawrence
Yes.
Public Schools. So.
And actually, through their
They're
intervention,
doing-
there were a
yeah.
number of level 3 and 4 schools that actually got out of their status. So that's a good thing.
Okay.
So Peter, can I, before
Yep,
you go on?
sure.
Peter, do you have a meeting with the Globe? Because I think that,
I do.
so could you say something about that?
I don't know too much about it. I think he's a reporter, called me, and he said they're working on an app for the Globe, and the app is for people looking for good places to live that have good school systems. So we said that Georgetown High School is rated #1 in the Northeast region, and they want to talk to us. So he's coming tomorrow morning, and he'll meet with me and Allison Vieira and Paula Utter and Julie.
Excellent.
Great. Wow, congratulations.
Super.
Very exciting.
Rated
Great.
#1 in the Northeast.
Yeah.
Yes.
And then Northeast District for the Globe, I guess.
Yeah, they have.
They have the different sections.
They,
for the
they have
newspaper.
sections of where reporters cover.
And,
Oh,
and
yeah,
the,
there's
and
a
the,
section
the
of
ranking
Yeah,
is
the
by-
Metro, the Northeast.
The MCAS scores have a lot to do with it.
They do. They
I
do
don't
have a
know if
lot
it's
to
just
do
the
with it.
school ranking or
Well, I'm going to show you a couple
Or a
things
town,
that
or a town, I
probably
don't know.
play into that, because we did close the achievement gaps for all the students at the high school in addition to raising the MCAS scores at the high school. So two things were in play at that, and so I have a feeling that those two things combined really put Georgetown High School over the edge. So it's wonderful news. It really is.
Real
Great accomplishment.
And so this lovely chart is the district data chart that's put up by the Department of Ed, and it will tell us a number of different things. How many percentage of students do we have that scored proficient or higher in the district versus the state average? And then it will break it down even further, the advanced categories, proficient, needs improvement, warning, and failing, the number of students that are included, the CPI score, which is what really plays into our PPI overall index of where we are, and our student growth percentiles as well. So what we shoot for is a range between 40 and 60% for student growth percentiles, and you'll see that in many cases we're above that. There are a couple places where we're not, so we're going to take a look at that and try to determine what's at play in those couple of instances. But you'll also see, if you look at the high school, we can range up into the 80s as an average for student growth, which is amazing. That's just an amazing accomplishment.
So, don't try to do your eyes on this.
Yeah.
Remember, there's
Yeah,
a
it's-
packet. These are all blown up in here, so that
We wanted you to
have
be able to
the
look at them.
opportunity. If you're looking for handouts, you have them.
That grade 8 science was concerning.
That
when
grade
I
8
saw that.
science, we're really looking at the structure of the curriculum over 3 years and trying to determine what happens, because our kids only get tested in grade 5 and grade 8 and grade 10. And so that's a huge area for what's happening at each grade level, and what have we taken out of the curriculum, what do we need to build back in. And that's really honestly one of the major points that we're looking at when it comes to science. Yeah. Okay. Any other questions on this chart? Okay, so what I pulled here is just a district average, and you can see if you just look at the colored chart, the district versus the state. In every grade level, we have been above the state average, which is primarily where you expect a town like Georgetown to be. So we are very happy about that. And you can see the actual percentages and the number of students included as we kind of move through the slides here. But this is just an average district number when it comes for students taking English across the district, math, and science and technology and engineering.
So you can see that our warning category is consistently below, right? And that the proficient and advanced categories are generally higher.
And we're looking at ways too of raising that average. What do we need to do to get to the point where when I show you the comparison over time, you'll get a sense of that. But
When they use the state as sort of a measuring stick,
Yep.
do they have other measuring sticks which are more relatable to Georgetown?
No, we create our own. We create our own every year when we analyze data. We'll pick those districts that are surrounding us.
That are like
That are
similar.
like the challenge is we don't really have anybody like us in the area.
We're very
because
unique.
We're surrounded by the big regionals.
Right.
I mean, Ipswich, yeah, maybe even Newburyport's bigger, significantly bigger.
about
Amesbury's
Sometimes
different.
Linfield will come up.
Sometimes
Linfield,
Linfield.
yeah.
Actually, the state compares us to Linfield.
Yeah.
The state compares us size-wise to Manchester, Essex, and Hamilton Wenham as well. Generally, you know, there's, when you compare the list of 11 or 12 districts, they also put us with Nantucket, which is absolutely crazy, because Nantucket spends about $20,000 a student, because they have to bus they have to ship everything in and out. But I don't know, somehow we're on the list with them. Go figure.
Okay, so this is a summary report of Pembroke's data, and you'll see English, language arts, math, and science. And when you think about Pembroke data, we have students that are taking MCAS for the first time in their educational career, and then we have students who are taking science for the first time as well when they get to 5th grade. And so that's kind of a few places there where some major shifts happen or introduction points happen at the elementary level. We can tell you this year that ELA and math had 50% of their test was based in the new standards. And so we've been really taking a look at how did our students do in relation to the standards that we've worked with for the past 10 years, 15, I can't remember how many years now, and how have they done in relation to the newer standards. And we can also tell that the long composition changed pretty dramatically in 4th grade, which is the first time since the inception of this exam that it's changed, and students were asked to write a story. And usually they're asked to write something a little bit more reflective of an experience they had. So they had to be a little more creative in their writing. So it makes us look at the types of writing that we're doing and, you know, offering up for students to think about when they're writing.
There are going to be new science standards.
Yes.
That are recently
coming.
been adopted. And actually, you know, we've had to put our energy into math and math and English language arts. We did purchase a few years ago some science materials so that was consistency across the board. But we know that's not the consistent curriculum that we really need to put in place. So and when you see the district strategic plan, that's one of the items that we're looking at is science and technology.
And so this is our middle school data. We have ELA, math, and science data, and the same thread throughout the district. We had some transitions for curriculum frameworks, like 50 and 50 splits in those exams. So we're taking a look at the test and the item analysis, and even all the way down to the student level to figure out how did students do when it came to open response writing or long composition writing or short answer writing for math or geometry or ratios and proportions. So we're really trying to take a look at the breakdown and how the students did within the breakdown. So
I think the other thing too is, you know, the tests is different, obviously, and the tests are developed by teachers. You know, they're on teams. And you see consistently that the performance at all the levels in English language arts, both at the schools and at the state, are consistently higher. That, you know, the math is interesting to me, because the math standards haven't been around, the current math standards have been changed several times, right? So the question, and we are making some adjustments here based on those. So, you know, some of the curriculum that we've taught in the past, we have to shift. So
a lot of the shift has happened for math down from almost high school to grades 3 through 8.
Yeah.
So the shift has really been this downward slope where we're asking more of students, and we're asking them to retain a lot of the work that I think that we teach in the upper elementary grades in our lower elementaries. So
that lower chart with the science and technology, that's really powerful. And I know
what do you notice from that, Rob?
What do I notice about that for Pembroke? I noticed there's no advanced.
This is middle school.
This is middle school.
I mean middle school. There's no advanced. The needs improvement is way up there, and it's pretty clear that there's something that's.
It almost says to you there's something missing. There's definitely a component missing to that curriculum, and we need to put a finger on what that is.
Yeah, no, I know you guys have recognized it and said it and stuff. But.
Yeah, we really are looking at that, and you can even see it because the split is so even that you can tell.
And that happens at the state level too. So that's why they got to keep calibrating their tests to see, you know, whether or not it's, you know, doing what it needs to do too.
Okay, and this is our high school data. So, as I said to you before, 99% of our students were proficient or advanced at the high school in ELA. 1% of our students fell in the needs improvement category. Let me pull out my numbers here.
This is data for last year's education.
This is last spring.
In the spring, yep. 90% proficient in advanced math, 94% in science. And so you see from 8th grade to 10th grade, there's this amazing shift that happens when it comes to science. And the way that science is assessed at the high school level is by class. And so we'll have a biology exam, a science and technology exam, an intro to physics exam. So students are able to get into the science that fits their learning style. And so you do see a difference here in that when you look at the scores. And so,
Good point, Julie.
yeah, it's just very interesting how that changes things. So we're very proud, obviously, of the work that's been done, and also the way that it goes to show you that the longer the students are in the district, it's pretty amazing what they're able to do.
Does longitudinal data kind of fall out the same way as last year's data, where we see, we may see the middle school kids showing some signs of struggle, and then this huge jump to?
Yes, I think this is the biggest jump, and I guess it's pretty amazing given the fact that we had that split in the frameworks. And so what it also says is our curriculum really speaks to the new frameworks, that they mesh very well.
To me, it says we build a foundation.
Yeah.
We give kids time. I mean, which I almost think it would be troubling if you saw this kind of data at 8th grade or even 4th grade or 6th grade, that you have all these brilliant kids in your district. No, you educate them over the course of their career, and
What's
then
the point of school if you're already smart?
There you go.
You get to this point after time, and I think that's a powerful story.
One of the things that I wrote down a note, because we do it every year, we just didn't do it yet, and that is to look at the cohort data. So to me, that's more valuable than looking at,
Right,
one group of 10th graders
at
or,
every test,
where
right.
we look at the kids that, when they took the test in 4th grade, it's not the same, individuals may have left or come, but it's the same general group.
Yes.
And, you can look at, when they were in 4th grade, even though the test is different every year, but you can see the amount of.
The trend is.
You can see the trend in a really positive
much
manner.
bigger
I think
story.
those early years are about
Bigger
learning
story.
how to learn.
Yes.
About learning how to be curious about the world, about learning, and you would expect high school students to be more interested in mastering. I mean, and carrying that then into college and into life, that sort of mastery of knowledge. But you have to learn how to do that. You have to learn how to be curious about the world and how to be inquisitive. And that's, one of the reasons I oppose testing in early grades is because I hate for kids to feel that they're labeled as I'm just, I'm a needs improvement kid. I'll always be
this does also speak to that, and it says you could be a lot of different things, but and everyone has those moments in their life. But as you move forward here, you do gain the skills that you need.
Foundation, and you can get to this point at some point. I like that. That's a good story.
Okay. I'm trying to think of how. Okay, well, it's always the race to who can report this the fastest. All right. When it comes out on Friday in the portal and the DOE website, the whole system crashes. No one can get in. No one can get the data. It's crazy. And then all of a sudden the Globe will start throwing out their statistics. And so this, I think, came up Friday night after the data had been released. And so it just they do a summary report of advanced, the same thing, just in, it looks a little different. The number of kids tested and then I don't know how they really quantify or qualify this. I kind of would be interested to figure that one out. The overall placement of schools, their kind of level of where schools fall across the state. And so that you'll see. And we also have the globe analysis for the high school. And so I think this is why Peter got a phone call. You'll see that, we're certainly up there when it comes to overall placement according to the globe analysis. And it's good news. Okay. So we do a lot with this data. This is just the introductory 101, data 101, when it comes to what we do with it. We have all our department heads, teachers, grade levels vertical teams looking at the data, so we all look at it from a different perspective depending on where you are in that mix. We look at the data down to the item level, so we take the exam itself and then we look at every question. We look at the way questions are worded. We look at the way students answer questions and try to determine like how did they get tripped up, so we can speak to that. We look at open response questions, how students answer them. We don't get our students' actual written responses, but we get kind of an average of how kids typically respond in that rubric, and so we look at that. And then we use a lot of that data to determine course changes. You know, what things do we need to add into science? What things do we need to add into math? Where do we make the shift when it comes to number sense and geometry? How do we make sure that's being done at the grade levels that we need it to be done in? And so it's a giant test, but if you really take it in pieces, you could do a lot with it. And so we really do work with it.
And we have enough years now.
Throughout the year.
So we can
Right.
look at mathematics. So, you know, when you have different groups every year, you look at the group that's in front of you. But when you have multiple years of data, you can look and say, all right, where have our fourth graders been in math? You know, and that really helps us too in terms of looking at trends, subject by subject, grade by grade.
Mm-hmm. And so we'll continue to look at what did the high school do that helped us to kind of close that achievement gap. What were some of the strategies that they used, and how can we think about replicating at the middle school and even the elementary schools? What are some of the strategies that they use that really help them tip the scales? And then, as Carol talked to you about RTI, I feel like every goal that we have comes down to RTI, and how are we going to address our high needs student population is certainly something that we need to think about. But also, how are we taking our students who are scoring and just hitting the top off of this thing? What are we doing with them as well to make sure that we continue to challenge them in the work that they do over the course of the year? So it's a lot of interesting thoughts and conversations that will be had.
Are you feeling like things are trending up?
I am. I'm very interested in the way that the schools and the kids are responding to the new frameworks, because we're still aligning our curriculum to it. And so it's really interesting to see how well kids are doing in the new frameworks, given the fact that we haven't completely aligned yet. It's pretty interesting. So I find that really positive, because what it says to me is we don't subscribe to one theory. We're open to a lot of things, and a lot of the work that we do is targeting the expectations of these frameworks that are supposed to be more expansive than the ones that we've been working with before. So that's good news.
What would be your biggest concern in?
My biggest, I wouldn't say what's my biggest concern, because I think I know where we're going to go with this. I think what my question is how are we going to do that? How are we really going to get down to the student level to get every student what he or she needs in order to be successful and feel confident about the work that they have to do? I think that's what I'm thinking about.
So the question that you're saying is about how you reach every student? Is that what I'm hearing? Okay.
Yeah.
Right. And
Because
that's
I think
sometimes a moving target.
Well, I think for many years we kind of take this stuff and we look at it at the surface, but then we don't look at how the kids interact in that. Like what's happening over time with the student, and is this a consistent trend with the actual student, or is it just a consistent trend in the test? Those are two very different things.
Profile of a student who's
That's
gonna
what I'm
struggle.
doing now.
That I think is the interesting thing, and that's
why
part
people
of,
are so tired of my emails.
that's part of our whole
But
goal
so that when you
with
bring us-
RTI. It's not just
yeah.
MCAS,
Yeah.
right? So
Right.
we create this assessment map. We say, what assessments are we giving, and really what's the purpose of it? What does it tell us? And then what's the benchmark we're trying to hit? So it does allow us to create a profile for a student, not just look at one data point. Right?
That
So
was
that's
actually one of my questions. Do
yeah.
you do some analysis comparing MCAS scores to the actual grades? Like, do you have students that
who
needs
score well but
improvement?
needs improvement?
Well, I was thinking the other way.
Oh,
Needs
okay.
improvement, but maybe they make honor roll, or I don't
We
know.
do. We and not very many on either spectrum, but I would say sometimes you tend to see that in a bigger urban district.
I think we saw that a lot more at the beginning
when
of
people didn't know
MCAS.
what to expect
Because people
from
would
this,
ask us, you know, how come my kid
they
could be
just-
getting an A? And there needs
Right.
improvement on MCAS. But I think as the teachers have, and the schools have aligned their curriculum more to the standards. So, in other words, if you're teaching programs, and teachers are sending out tests around the program, and the program isn't lined up to the standards, it would make sense that the students would do very well on what you taught them in the program. But if the test is something completely different
Right.
format, completely different level of questioning and understanding, there's gonna be a disconnect. So as we have worked really hard to try to make sure that our curriculum and our unit plans and the things that we're working, our courses and grade level units of study are aligned to the standards first, and the teachers are aware that you're really teaching the standards. You're not teaching to MCAS, you're teaching the standards. And if you're teaching the standards, then the MCAS should be easier for you.
I remember freshman year when I took the biology MCAS. I came from a Catholic school, so I never took like any MCAS sort of thing. So I remember as we started to get closer to the bio test, my teacher wouldn't say, so we're going to learn this because it's on the test. It's we learned our lesson. How does this relate to the MCAS test? How can I use this to help me? Like, it was just incorporated within our lessons.
very easily, so it didn't feel
Yeah.
And
like
I think
it
there's
was-
Right, it
still
wasn't
some
like, oh,
anxiety
MCAS.
on the part of kids around MCAS, but I think the principals would tell you that now it's sort of become just kind of how it happens in May, right? You know, this is what we do in May.
I think it's interesting to note too, that current tenth grade class was when you and I first came, and that was, parents were very concerned
Oh, very
about that
interesting.
third
Do you remember
grade.
that, the
We
Stand
had
Up
to
for
have-
Georgetown group?
Yes,
That's a good point, Donna, I hadn't thought of that.
The parents were very concerned about that. The
When I
MCAS.
first came here, the first thing that I heard was there's 75% of the students in fourth and fifth grade on the MCAS and needs improvement or warning. And there was a big cry of concern on the
That was
part of
good to
parents, remember?
That was good
Yeah,
to
that's
remember that.
great, Donna, I had forgotten that. But, you know, I think now, you know, it's not, we're not looking at that. So when you say, you know, do we see positive trending up? Absolutely. Are we where we wanna be for 100% of the kids? No, we're not. But I'm not sure you ever get there, right? We're not building widgets. That's not like, you know, you know, this is what the ideal looks like. We take students from wherever they are and work as best we can with them. But I think the work we've been doing to coordinate and to be consistent and trying to, you know, and I think it's great, Mary Beth, that you see that as a student.
Yeah.
That you feel like it's more embedded now as opposed to something that's, okay, now we have to take this test that doesn't have anything to do with what we've been really working on for
It was
a while.
very much incorporated.
Yeah,
every
that's
day.
great to hear.
Mm.
That's great to hear.
That was a great presentation, and it feels, as a parent in this town, not as a school committee member, it feels really good to hear what I'm hearing.
I'm so glad. It feels good to say it. It really does, because there are moments where you're just not sure how this is going to turn out. So I'm thrilled too.
Yes.
It makes me want to send my kids to Georgetown.
I know. Well, Julie's looking for a school choice spot at some point for her
In
child.
a couple years.
Well, thank you, Julie.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. My goodness.
Yes, it's a lot of hard
Yeah,
work.
everyone.
Really.
Thank you, everyone.
You must be very proud.
We are.
I just feel very good about your work.
No, that's a good PR, public relations.
That's correct.
Okay, does anyone have any questions about the superintendent's information provided in the packet?
Oh, I just want to talk about the topics. I just want to draw people's attention to that,
Okay.
if they haven't already taken a look at them. I saw that, that's very helpful.
Yeah.
Well, I tried to break it down into priorities, you know, and try to distribute it. We may still need to shift some things, you know, as, we need to shift some things as the year goes on, because some of these are pretty hefty. But what we tried to do was to think about all of the things that have to do with what the school committee's business is, obviously. But in addition to that, we also talked about what are the kinds of things that we would want to make sure as school committee members you knew more about. So like things like the educator evaluation thing, things like the work that we're doing with the strategic plan on the curriculum alignment. So Julie, you know, I want Julie to be able to have her vertical team come and talk to you because they're doing awesome work. The math vertical team and the science vertical team, you know, it's great for them to get some opportunity to share with you and then obviously to the public. So it will be a busy year, but remember back to the little graphic of all those things, that's why, because we're trying to do our best to keep you updated, knowing you can only absorb so much probably, but it's all part of the strategic initiatives. Going back to what Mike said, is that one of the things you want as a school committee to be doing is always thinking about student achievement. So there's stuff you have to do that's just your business, but then there's other stuff we're doing in the district that impacts, your ability to do your business. So anyway, this is what we're thinking right now. We will have some shifting maybe, and there'll be new things that come on, but this gives us just a general framework.
Thank you for that.
You're welcome.
Yeah, I find that very helpful in planning and
Yeah,
the way
I
I
like planning.
think about, yes. Me too.
Does anybody have any questions about the superintendent's?
Oh, one more thing, sorry. Turffield project.
Oh,
I just
Turffield,
wanted,
yeah, the
I just
RFP.
wanted to, I did, this was a follow-up, because we didn't have it in the shape we needed it to be in. But I do wanna just, draw your attention to page 11 of 13 and the schedule. Because, we're gonna come back in October. I'm thinking it's the second meeting in October. I should look at my little cheat sheet here. Yeah, and it's the selection of the turf designer, cause that's something that you'll have to do. So as of the 25th, I believe, it was in the Central Register, so that's great. So now it's out there for people who might be interested. And we'll start, hopefully,
Joan said she had 13 phone calls.
She did, how interesting.
Just since
That's
yesterday?
Yeah, it just went in, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, so, here's, kind of what we're looking for a timeline with the project starting.
So I
April
know
1st.
right now that I won't be at that meeting on the 24th.
Okay.
Just make sure you
As long as there's a quorum.
Yeah, just
We definitely need that.
anybody else know they're gonna be.
Yeah, is there anybody else that knows now that that's not gonna work for them? All right, well, thank you,
We'll be
sorry
there.
Barbie, I,
Well, but the fact that you brought that up, before I forget, there's one thing that's very important in this that we never talked about, which is the mapping of the wetlands. And there is a seasonal issue in there, and I don't know how that jives with Conservation Commission and when you can do that, but if permitting is part of this, which it
Right,
is.
right.
There's a period of time seasonally when is the only time you can identify the wetlands. It's not something you can go out there and
Oh.
do 365
Okay.
days.
Who
So,
would know about that?
Steve.
Okay.
And then when depending on what he says, it may be fine with the schedule, but if
Okay,
not.
okay, I'll check, I can
That
check
was
in with him on
important.
it, thank you.
Woke
That is
up-
important,
I
and
woke up thinking-
I would have had no idea that was
That
important.
makes sense. You can't identify wetlands under 6 feet of
No,
snow,
and
right?
then you gotta wait until you can, and that screws up the whole schedule.
Okay, so let me see if I can make a contact with Steve.
Okay, so anybody have any questions about the superintendent's information? Nope. Okay. Subcommittee reports? Budget and finance, you said you met?
Let's see.
We did, and primarily what we talked about was what Joan
Yes,
had talked
yes.
about, was that we talked
Yeah.
a lot about the truck. I think we covered
And the budget,
everything.
the FY.
The budget, Joan presented the FY budget update, with the transfer form. And, she
And I
said the
think-
enrollment in
Set
after-school
a new
programs
meeting.
and sports rosters are full or filling up as
Yeah.
projected.
And we did talk about the budget priorities and the guidelines, and I did,
timeline and
I
the
did
guidelines.
reach out to Sandy Garrity after our conversation. And, cause we always wanna have, advanced guidance from the FinCom. And she said basically same as last year, so, we should look at what we, level services, maintaining what we have. And basically, anything we want in addition to that, we just need to justify it.
There's that override again.
What override again?
Well, there's the override helping.
Oh, yeah, absolutely, absolutely, I'm
another
telling
year
you, that's.
continuing that way.
Absolutely, so, she said they'll be conservative initially, till they know exactly how things go, but she said just plan on what you did last year, salaries, non-salaries, and special ed, break those out, which we're fine with doing. And so we would wanna talk in early November, as a committee, as to what we want the budget priorities to be. And then my recommended budget would be January 9th. And then you would be reviewing it in February, like you always do, and having a public hearing. And, you would adopt it in February. And I don't anticipate it being a difficult budget, because we've got that new format, everything down to the line.
Right.
You know,
doing the
it'll just be
same,
looking at what
much-
the priorities are, really.
Yes, a simpler process.
Much
this year.
cleaner.
Yes.
Next meeting, October 16th.
Yep.
Okay. Governance?
So we met this evening before this meeting, and Carol, you have to report on our concussion policy to somebody by the 30th, but we will
I
be
do.
reviewing the policy at our next meeting so that all of us can take a look at it and make sure that we're okay with it.
Any questions you have, yeah?
If you have any questions, and then we'll look at the first 7 policies in section I of our policy handbook. Lori and I will review them, and Carol, and we'll be discussing them at our next meeting. Barbie, we have a meeting scheduled for the Baker Adams
Correct.
Scholarship Review, right? Yeah, that's
Good,
coming
you're
up,
right,
okay.
yeah. And just the
It's early
bullying
October.
language is the only
Right.
other one, Alana.
What was that, Carol?
The bullying language was the
Oh,
only
right,
other
and
one.
then we need to make a change to the policy on bullying, because there's been some language that needs to be updated so that bullying no longer is defined as something that's done by students, but it's done by anybody at the school.
Okay.
So that's an update, so that'll be coming before you at some point for the committee to approve. Our next meeting is October 10th at 6 p.m., but we are hoping that we can have the door open at
I know,
5:55.
yeah, that's a problem.
Okay. Negotiating, we haven't.
Nope. Well, you got a couple, we're gonna talk about the side letter, which isn't really,
Yes.
yeah.
Public relations?
Public relations, I'm sorry, at last
We have
meeting,
a meeting on Monday.
yes,
Yeah,
we're
we're
meeting on
coming- it's
Monday.
coming.
Yeah, now we're on the
We've got a
same
meeting
page,
coming
thank you,
up.
very good. I don't know where I came up with that first date from, but yes, the meeting is Monday, September 30th at 8:45.
Okay.
And, yeah, we'll be talking about SMART goals and the blog update. And I had a question for you, Carol. With a groundbreaking ceremony for
Yes.
the new school, who would be organizing that? Would that be?
Well,
And
you
when,
know,
like,
Yeah.
do you do one of those when you first start to build the building, or when someone first
when you
cuts
break
down
gr-
a
when you
tree,
break
or?
ground, Well, we're
first
looking
get
to
up?
do that, and I don't know if you're gonna cover that, Rob, on your little report.
gonna talk about
Yeah, so let's
Digger
let
in
Rob,
there?
yeah, we're gonna do it in November, early November.
Early November? Okay.
It was November 1 to the 15th is when they're seeing
Tentatively.
the ground
I
ceremony.
have to find out
happening.
when the MSBA and
Yeah.
and the local, the legislators can come, and then we'll work around that schedule.
Exciting.
It is
Carol-
exciting.
Are you organizing
Over
the
the school
groundbreaking
building, right?
breaking ceremony?
No.
Well,
Is it a school
But-
building committee? Is
No,
it-
well, what so it is, I am probably spearheading it, but
Okay.
Michelle and Carrie from the school building committee wanted to be on it. And then I obviously want to engage the principals, you know, in that.
Right.
And it would be great if there was a member of the school committee that wanted to be on the planning team. And we're trying to figure out ways that we might be able to have kids, you know, get kids
Oh,
involved, which we
absolutely,
really
yeah.
love to do. But it's like, when's the best time to get everybody there? And, you know, it's just, so we just haven't got the logistics. It's just a concept at this
it
point
just
in
came
time.
up at the last meeting.
And I did ask Courtney and Carl and the 2 OPMs, you know, they do this all the time, right? So what have they seen that they would say are really good best practice? I mean, we wanna make it for Georgetown. This is a big deal for Georgetown. This is a
it
big
is. It's
project. It's a
huge.
lot of money, you know, and it's really, it's been a big project. So we don't wanna understate it, but we also don't wanna, you know, make it overly, or the fanfare overly crazy either. But we just wanna have a few good minds getting together and saying, you know, but it would be fabulous to hear in October from the school committee as to what ideas you have that we should be considering, that you think we should consider, that are important. We did that
And
with the
there-
building committee, and
Yeah.
they didn't have a whole lot to
And
offer, but.
one of the ideas that was mentioned, or the process that happens typically, is that there's the groundbreaking ceremony, which is actually second fiddle to the ribbon cutting.
Okay.
Two very different
Very
meetings,
different,
and
yeah.
the
Oh, they
the
are.
ribbon cutting is the one where
That's the
oftentimes you
fanfare,
get,
yeah.
that's where the band
That's the
is there,
bands and the-
and the
yeah.
press and the senators, and
Oh.
that's where everybody's there. The groundbreaking ceremony, which is in November, you know, there's a bunch of gold shovels and a few people with hard hats, and some things are said, and it's a lot lower keyed.
So ribbon cutting is when the school's done and we're about to take.
Correct.
Yeah, that's
The ribbon
right.
cutting is the biggie.
Yeah,
Oh.
but with the little group, you know, some people in the group really feel like they still wanna,
They
you
want
know,
kids at the-
they want, so, you know, I
Sure.
guess it's but that's I mean, that's great. That's great, Rob, because, you know, again, this is kinda your field too. So we will have to take all that into consideration, but, you know, as I said, we don't wanna go crazy, but at the same time, we don't wanna understate the importance of it, so something nice and tasteful and celebratory, you know, will be great.
Yeah,
Well,
absolutely.
If you're looking for someone to be on a planning team, I'd
Okay.
be happy to do that.
Alrighty. Well, we'll keep you in the meeting loop
If
and
you
you
don't
can,
need me, you know, you're
if it's
fine.
Okay, and the safety committee hasn't met since our last meeting, correct?
That's right.
Okay, and school building?
Well, so we selected the general contractor.
Oh, great.
BRAIT, Break Builders, at 32.9 million, which is 3 to 4 million below the original estimate.
How much?
3 to 4 million below the original estimate.
And where are they from?
Marshfield.
Yeah, right, Marshfield, you're right, yep.
3 to 4 million under.
So now we're gonna switch to monthly meetings. The next meeting is October 15th, and the committee meets then once a month, and those meetings are all the design is done, all the
Great.
design work's done.
So that must be good for you guys, once a month from a lot of time.
Oh, yeah, from every 2 weeks, yeah.
Yeah, I'm really
that's good.
happy that the design is done. So it's moving ahead, and it's gonna be a great project in the end. There are some, to the school and the school district, there are some maintenance issues that are gonna come forward that we're gonna have to address with emergency access lane and some other stuff. But we'll cross that bridge when we get to it.
Yep, and we have to continue to talk with the town, you know, regarding the maintenance of roads
Who's
and
taking
all that
care.
kind of stuff, you know. You know, so I'm sure we'll work out something
But that was a big meeting.
that was a very important meeting. Very exciting
Okay.
stuff.
Thank you, Rob.
Thank you, that's great. Okay, no old business,
No old business.
new business.
I'm sorry, could I just speak about the CPAC meeting that we had?
Sure.
I mean, just being the school committee CPAC liaison,
You get a start.
the, there was for the first CPAC meeting of the year was on September 24th, and there were quite a few staff members there, and parents as well. And we got a really interesting, we talked a little bit about the direction of special education for the year, but since, I'm not sure, who's the new special education coordinator at Pembroke? She's not
Her
here
name,
yet,
her
or-
name is Sandy O'Connor.
Sandy O'Connor was there, right, and she showed us this amazing robot. It's a Aldebaran robot as a teaching tool, and it's there've been a lot of studies that show that it really helps kids on the autism spectrum as well as at all different age levels and grade levels, and all kinds of uses for this $17,000 robot that she has from from where she was at, and not that we would have that right away or anything like that, but it's just something to think about going forward, how robots could be used. And
So she had that at her previous district?
yes,
And
so
she
we got a very
is
it's been on
recommend
the
she-
Today Show as
Yeah.
something.
Don't you remember the days of George Jetson And you thought how far away that is, but then if you stop and think about it, you know, you got watches that you can, you know, that do everything, you got big screen TVs, you got microwave up, I mean, and now we got robots
They
doing all
play
kinds
games
of
with the
things.
kids, and the kids get all
I
excited.
want a flying car, that's what I'm
with them,
waiting
so
on.
it was very interesting.
You and my
Anyway,
daughter.
you know, it was a nice, welcome to the new year CPAC meeting, so.
That's nice. I'm looking forward to meeting her in her the upcoming meeting that she'll be coming.
Yes.
I've never met her before.
Oh, I'm very.
Who's it, Shelby?
Oh,
Yes.
yes.
Oh,
That Shelby
yeah, I
coming
think we should
in
bring,
October.
at the same time we bring Shelby, I think we should bring the new facilitator, so you can, I mean, the new, special ed coordinator for the elementary,
Pembroke.
so you can meet her as well,
Yes,
Sandra.
yes. Is it, what, October 24th?
I don't know, we
Work
have
for
to.
Yeah, because the 10th
Uh-huh.
didn't work for
The
her,
10th didn't
correct?
work for her, right.
Oh, it didn't work for her?
No.
So
Right.
you're moving, so we're moving
Can we move her to
Yes,
October
of course.
24th? Oh, good, great.
CPAC president, move her over there.
Okay,
And you'll reach out to
Sandy,
Ms. O'Connor?
great,
so on the 24th.
thank you.
Thank you for that update, Pam. Okay, new business, the mentor coordinator.
Yes. All right, so this one's easy. You know, Julie and Heidi Monjo have been really involved in doing a great job with this mentor coordinator position and the whole mentor program, which is a huge, it's a huge initiative, but it's one of the more important things we do. Because there's a lot of data that talks about how the first 5 years, new educators leave the profession. So, and this is kind of what you're interested in, this whole not only renewal but retention. And so Heidi, because of the fact that she's now in an administrative position, she's not able to continue to lead the program because it actually is listed in the teacher's contract. But we're so lucky because we have this teacher who's high energy, just really psyched up about this, who's, you know, very interested in you know, kind of assuming some leadership opportunities. And we don't, other than if you're gonna be a vice principal or you're gonna move in, we don't, in a small district, you don't have as many. So we're constantly looking for, like the Julie Lamoldi position, what are places where we can take advantage of some of the skills of our people and really benefit the structure of the district and give them an opportunity for leadership. So this memorandum we have to do because it's not listed in the contract at the stipend we'd like to pay. I mean, Julie could fill you in on specifically why we think the $500 is warranted if you have questions about that. But there's no doubt that this is a very big position. There's a lot to it, and you know, $2,000 isn't. You know, when I think about what we pay some of our coaches, you know, so this is really nominal. But you know, we don't have a funding source other than the $500 that Julie's grant is not that big. So you know, by some redirection of some funds within that grant, I feel we can come up with the $500 and then make this a $2,000 position. But because it's outside of the contract, we do need your approval. And Joe's obviously on board with it. He signed it, Barbie signed it. But we just want it to be a vote of the committee as well.
Does anybody have any questions about it?
No.
Before we make a motion?
I was surprised, Carol, at just how many new faculty members we had this year.
Yeah.
Is that typical, or was this?
Yeah, yeah, I mean, it's, you know, it varies, but, you know, this year, we had a number of people who were, we had a couple of retirements, so that was part of where some of that came from. And, you know, there's some positions that people, you know, they shop, right? So they look and say, well, I can make more money and I'm closer to home. You know, sometimes we can't help that. But I didn't feel, because I keep a pretty good handle on, you know, why are people leaving. I didn't feel like people left because they were unhappy or the district didn't meet their needs. I mean, they had personal circumstances that, you know, they thought were important. Plus, we did hire a couple of different positions. Like we added remember the 6th grade special ed teacher. You know, we had several of our special ed, like our Compass teacher, she went to Newburyport, so we had to hire a replacement for her. So mostly the specialized special ed programs where we saw quite a bit of transition. But we also added a reading specialist, remember, at the high school. So some were, it was a combination of new positions. But the stability of the administrative team was great, because that's where we've seen, you know, some turnover in the last, you know, 7 to 10 years, so.
But it also speaks to the need of the mentor program.
Absolutely, it does, absolutely.
People coming on board, so yeah.
Yeah, Plus, our classes got bigger, so there were pieces of people, like we had to hire a .4 this, a .6 this, and in some cases, we could hire a 1.0 by putting it part middle school, part high school. So some of that had to do with just the fact that we were accommodating for the changes in size of classes and grades. And I just wanna make sure you see this before we close, because I was gonna mention it when the PTA is part of the whole, parents supporting the schools. But then I didn't wanna take away from the PTA and those groups as well, but I did wanna make sure that we acknowledge that the GEF, also a very strong partner of us, did their Links for Learning the other day, and I did go over and, I enjoyed the.
Did you play?
No, these are people who shoot like 12 under par. I mean, one year, Peter, me, and Donna Tanner, and one of the middle school assistant principals did it. And the nice thing about it, it's a scramble, so, occasionally you might be able to shoot a decent shot and help the team. But Peter and Donna are phenomenal. I could help occasionally. I had more fun than anything else. And the other woman who was with us, she went to mini golf all the time, so she could putt like crazy. So, we had fun, and I was so excited, we were under par by one. And then you come in and all the other people are -10, -11. Oh, well, I had a very, too bad they didn't give a prize for like the lowest score, but it was really fun. But anyway, they raised $10,000 in one day for the schools. There's a really nice article in the paper about it.
Awesome.
So I just want to acknowledge, the planning group and all of the work that was done, any of these events. I mean, those of you who've been on PTA and other organizations, that these are not little events, and so anyway, I just want to acknowledge that $10,000 is a great amount for one day.
Sure is. Good job, we appreciate their support.
Yes, we absolutely do.
Do we need a motion for that?
Yes.
stipend?
Yes, you do, you have to vote on it.
Yes. So the chair will entertain a motion to approve the mentor coordinator side letter of agreement as presented.
So moved.
Second.
Any questions? All in favor? Aye. Okay, meeting to adjourn 9:12.
No executive session.
No executive session. All in favor of adjourning?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you, good night.
Thank you, good night, everybody.